So then moving to the second item from that committee, the heritage item, approval of extension of time for Central City Landmark Heritage Grant for Maclean's Mansion, 387 Manchester Street. So Brendan and Carolyn, welcome to the table. Do you want to provide just some brief background comment to this report before we consider it?
Yep, this is a request for an extension of time to an existing landmark, Central City Landmark Heritage Grant that you approved back in January 2017, I think. And the building you're probably all aware of, the trust that's purchasing the building from the current owners has gone through some change of trustees, and they've basically moved to a point now where they can actually proceed with the project. There were some stall issues with the trust and in terms of the negotiations with the current owners for the price that they were having to pay for the building, and that's been resolved, and the trust is all ready to go with some new trustees. The chair is Chris Kissling from the Christchurch Civic Trust, and there are a number of other trustees with good experience with heritage buildings, and Trevor Lord is also a trustee. So we've got a very one-off chance, I suppose, to really proceed and do something with this great building, and we have an organisation that's got an appropriate use for it once the works are done. It will be a phased project because of the scale of the building. It's a 53-room mansion, so it has to be phased, and hopefully the first phase will be sufficient to generate that rolling interest in the building and generate income for other phases to then continue. It's a huge project, but it's a fantastic building. So as I say, we're seeking an extension to an existing grant. This isn't new money. This is money that's already been allocated from previous years, and we're just asking that it be carried over for another 18 months to give them sufficient time to actually get on with the works.
So two questions arising from that. The first of which just relates to the last line in the recommendation. The new completion date for the project would be the 8th of December 2019. You've obviously got a reasonable degree of confidence that that will be achieved, and the committee obviously had a degree of confidence that that would be achieved in as much as they're making this recommendation to council.
Yep. I would say that the chances are that the whole project won't be complete by then, but sufficient works will have been completed to secure the building and to utilise the full grant. And I would expect that, given the scale of the project, it would be highly optimistic to say that the whole thing will be completed in 18 months. But as I say, sufficient works will have been done for securing and finding a use for the building, and that's the target.
So if we didn't approve this recommendation today, obviously the extension wouldn't occur, the opportunity for the building would be lost, for this particular building would be lost, and the funds would return back to the Landmark Heritage Grant pool for reallocation. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
So, as I say, this is the one-off chance the trust has there's nobody else out there competing with them for this building, so this is a kind of once in a blue moon really to actually get a trust that's willing and able to take on the task of doing this work.
Okay, thank you.
Could I just pick up on your point around the funds returning to the landmark grant pot for reallocation? We just have to check, and I don't know the answer to this, but this is so close to the end of the financial year that we would just have to confirm that that would be the case.
Okay, it may not turn out to be, the answer to the question may not turn out to be relevant anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you. So I've got Dion and Mike. Dion.
Yeah, I just wanted to tease out a little bit more about the completion date. So are you quite certain that by the 8th of December, when the resolution would expire again, that they will be in a position where they can draw down, well, be granted the money, 1.9? Are you pretty confident or seriously confident at this stage?
Yeah. They're ready to go. So as reasonably confident as you can be. Obviously.
Yeah, because my concern is that obviously there will be a new council at that stage, and I just don't want it to end up rolling into a new council to make that decision, because then all of a sudden there's some uncertainty for the you know, the trust that's doing this work.
No, I understand that, but as I say, as reasonable, I'm as confident as I can be. The trust has got the experience on it now. These are people who are used to dealing with these kind of projects. They're 3 or 4 members of the Civic Trust. There's an architect on the trust board now. They've got as good a chance to do this as anybody could.
Yeah,
so
a subsequent question.
Confident.
A subsequent question really is would it be wise, or well, would it be wise or should it be done to make it 12 months, so that we can, if it's not, you know, there might be a bit more certainty around where they're at, so that you can actually make a decision to extend it again under the current circumstances, or do you?
Well, there's no benefit to them getting a reduction in time. We haven't done that with anybody else. Realistically, they will need 18 months. This is a big project. I'd really prefer to give them the certainty that they've got a recognised and established length of time to do these kind of works. We've had this 18-month period of time since the grants began. It's the kind of timeframes that you really do need to make sure that any unforeseen circumstances, and there usually are some with a heritage building like this, in its current state, that you build in some flexibility for them. I don't think 18 months is unreasonable.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about the 18 months. What I'm worried about is that it comes to the 18 months, there's a new council that might have a new direction or something like that, and then it gets to that, they're almost done, and then all of a sudden they need to get to that extension point, and they go, no, you can't do it.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with them. Obviously, once assuming the grant is approved and the work start, we'll be in touch with them on a regular basis, usually every... trying to think strategically, and because I want to make sure that this actually happens, because it's an amazing building that needs to stay in the city. Yeah, I don't think that would help them, that's all.
Okay, I'll take your advice on that.
Yep.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. So the trust, do they now own the building?
They're in the last day today of their due diligence on purchasing the building. So they can only do it with some certainty of funding. So they're waiting for your decision.
Okay. So the other question, I guess, around the financial impact. So this near $2 million grant, when was the financial impact of that felt? Was that already been...
It's committed.
So it's committed, so it has already...
Yes.
Okay.
8th of December 2016.
Okay, so that's sort of when it went off our books, and we don't have to have that.
No, it's a committed. It's already committed in the way that the accounts are considered.
Thank you. Just following on from Dion's question, if there was a concern about certainty and the length of time, presumably that would lead to a consideration of whether we would make the period of extension longer rather than shorter. So if we were to say 24 months rather than 18 months, would that address the issue that Dion has raised? If there was some doubt that 18 months would be long enough, presumably you would go to a longer period before a further decision was required rather than a shorter one?
Yeah, but what that does, that 18 months, as I say, it's a fairly well-established time frame. If they are, for whatever reason, going to exceed that, then we'll come back to you seeking a further extension, and that may just be for whatever time they advise. It could be 6 months, it could be another year.
Yeah, but better to do that by further decision at that time. But you would bring that back to us prior to October 2019, so that it would be this elected council that made that decision rather than a future council.
So you could perhaps, is there value in a second resolution? Is this necessary? That perhaps you seek that if the grant isn't expended by, let's say, August 20 or July 2019, that there is a report back within this current council. Is that necessary here?
I think it might be good to pick up the point that's been made.
Nodding no.
I think it risks the funding.
We could note that.
Yes. But the current policy and operational guidelines, that's the norm. So if within 12 months from now they haven't proceeded with the works, then there's something gone badly wrong again.
So as a matter of course, you would come back to council for a decision 6 months out from the 8th of December 19, which is before October 19 anyway.
Initially, we work with them, we contact them, and we make sure that the process and the project is proceeding in accordance with the kind of anticipated expenditure that they've committed. So if we get to a point, and we always write to successful applicants to remind them that after a period of time, they really should have started to claim the grant, because the grant should have been fully claimed by the 18 months. So if we're getting no response from them, then obviously something's not right. So we will write to them, but I don't think we'll get to that situation. We will find out pretty early on whether or not the works are proceeding, and then usually what happens is because it's such a large grant and a large project, we will agree some sort of phased payments for them to keep the thing rolling, and that's again part of the operational guidelines and policy that we can do that. So I
think from that we can be comfortable that the issue that's been raised, it's in hand. It will be addressed if it needs to be addressed. And clearly the important part today is to provide them certainty so that they can settle on the purchase deal.
They can settle it,
yeah. Yep. All right.
Could I just also note that there are regular reports to the committee on the grants and the I think that includes the extension, so the committee would have visibility from that perspective and the opportunity to raise that with staff through that reporting process as well. So,
yeah.
And we can pick that up and note that those reports should reference the works with McLean's.
Yeah, it sounds as though all the checks and balances are in place. Dion, did you have something further? No. All right, so can I then have a mover for this report? So Aaron seconded Dion. Any debate? All those in favour? Oh, Mike.
Sorry, and I'll probably start other people talking now, but that's all right. When this first came to council, I did oppose it, so I will oppose it again. I just struggle with the quantum of these grants. You know, it's nearly $2 million. And we know that represents 0.5% of rates. And we've just gone for a long-term plan where we've seen rate increases of over 5%, and people out there are struggling. I can't say yes to this when we have so many people that they're actually out there struggling. They're on fixed incomes, and this is where we see the priority line.
Thank you. I'd make the point that these funds are already on budget and have been on budget for some time, have already been allocated to this project. And if we weren't to approve this today, there's some question about whether the funds would come back to the Landmark Heritage Grant Fund, although from previous examples my understanding is that it would. That would then mean that these funds would be allocated to other similar projects rather than being used to alleviate any other council funding pressure or create a rates reduction, given that we've just approved the long-term plan, but certainly appreciate the sentiment. I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks very much.